Hello, amateurs, and welcome to another episode of the Amateur Rugby Podcast, here to help soothe your Sunday morning hangover with some wonderful rugby chat about the grassroots of the game. I'm your host, Tim, and I've got another fantastic guest for you today. I think in the UK that we feel that in the UK that every single New Zealander lives and breathes a game of rugby union. But during my travels, I've realised that that generalisation is, well, just a generalisation. So I thought it'd be really interesting to hear the viewpoint of a Kiwi who hates rugby. So please welcome Mr. Luke Hoben. Luke, how are you?
Hey, bro. How's it going? I'm a New Zealander who hates rugby.
Now, I've overrated that a little bit. I know you don't really hate rugby, but maybe in your own words, just describe how you feel about the game of rugby yourself.
In a word, ambivalent. Yeah, I don't really care. Yeah, I of course I was exposed to it all my childhood growing up, and so I know a little bit about the game. I guess probably about as much as a British person who just doesn't care about football.
Yeah, which is also a rarity. Now, with that in mind, just tell me a little bit about your childhood, what it was like growing up in New Zealand, a rugby mad country, and what kind of sports did you play if it wasn't rugby?
Funnily enough, I love football, and I grew up playing football. But yeah, so growing up, I think the first, all of my friends played rugby. Everyone played rugby. Everyone's rugby mad. The All Blacks come on, and they're just like the silver ferns everywhere, and everyone's like, "Go the ABs!" And and all my friends are still like super into rugby. But okay. So for a little while, I thought I'd want to play rugby, but I got introduced to football really early on, and my parents, according to them at least, both had friends. I think it was like two friends who I guess were, what do you call them, forwards, and at the amateur level, and had collapsed scrum and broke their necks. So I think two of their friends broke their necks, and we were kind of forbidden from playing rugby, wrapped in cotton wool and put on football pitches.
Did you ever play touch rugby or anything like that?
Yeah. Every day at school, it was either football or touch rugby. I played a bit of tackle as well, but is that what you call it? Full contact at school as well, but just at lunchtime and stuff like that. Never for a team, never played for a team, never laced up boots to play rugby.
Well, sad story about the injuries. Obviously, these things do happen in sport, especially a contact sport like rugby.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in terms of the school, this is even more kind of remarkable that you didn't end up playing rugby, because which school did you go to?
My secondary school was Auckland Grammar. So for those of you who don't know, I think, I'm pretty sure that Auckland Grammar is the high school in New Zealand that has produced the most All Blacks of all time. So it was also just a rugby mad school, and the first 15 were kind of like, but yeah.
So what was it like on match days for you at that school? Did you get involved in the whole, like, did you go and watch? I know, like, we see all these incredible videos and match day hackers from the whole school and all that kind of stuff. Did you get involved in any of that?
Right. So for me on match days, was much like every other day, not watching rugby. No. I think I saw one or two of the games that were on, but I wasn't really interested. I had a couple of friends who were in and around the first 15 at one point, so I remember cheering them on at one point. But nothing big. The haka, I think the hakas were done by at grammar. There's the school, and then there's the boarding school, and I can't remember what the name of that was. And I think they would all come out and do a haka if I remember correctly. But bro, I had no idea.
So the guys at your school at the time that were the best at rugby, did any of them go on and achieve, a great deal in the game?
There was a guy in my year who I didn't even know played rugby. I had no idea. And then he appeared playing for I think he played for the Auckland Blues, which is like one of Auckland's professional teams, in Super Rugby, called Lockie Munro. Apparently he was pretty good. Never saw him play. I didn't even know he played. I think he played for the New Zealand or like rugby sevens. I think got into that, but yeah, no idea.
But he was a late developer, was he? He wasn't particularly good at school, and then came through later.
Oh, man, like this is how checked out of that whole. He could have played for the first 15 from the time he was 13, and I'd have no idea. We didn't talk about it, and he never really spoke about it. Yeah, he was in my year, wasn't like a close friend or anything, but yeah, we spoke about it. But yeah.
Cool. Okay. I mean,
there was a guy. Sorry, there was one other guy who was in my brother's year, a couple of years below me, I think, called Winston Stanley, and I think he was in the first 15 from a very young age, maybe as soon as like third form, which is like the first year of high school in New Zealand, and I think he went on to have a pretty good career as well. He came from like a famous rugby family, apparently.
Yeah, he had a very solid career. Now then, just to let you know, yes, Auckland Grammar do still hold the record for the most All Blacks from any.
How many
school.
is it? Do you know?
53. And the most recent one was from the class of 2010. Could you hazard a guess as to who that was?
So I left. My last year was what was that? 2004. So 2010, we wouldn't have overlapped at all, I don't think. No idea. Who is it?
Current All Black, fantastic outside centre, Rico Ioane was the last All Black.
Good for him.
Yeah, there we go. There's a fact for you. Now then, I mean, you say you're kind of ambivalent to the whole thing, but have you ever actually been to an All Blacks game?
I've seen a few on TV. I think I remember watching rugby when I was a kid. Like the match would always be on if you went anywhere and the All Blacks were playing. I've been to one. I went to one. I had a Brazilian girlfriend in 2010, I think, and she wanted to see a rugby game, so we drove down to Hamilton. Yeah, can't recommend it, but no, I think the All Blacks were playing Wales, and we were there behind the goalposts. I think saw the haka. Yeah, that was cool. And then the game started, and I'd say I was pretty disappointed by the atmosphere. So you've got the whole crowd of like guys just standing there, just like arms folded, watching the game seriously. Try to score, it's like, oh yeah, woo, and then back to this, just seriously watching the game. And then you've got about like 5 or 6 traveling Welshmen banging drums and having a party and making heaps of sound, and it was awesome to watch that. That was cool. I don't know what's it like where you're from. Are people just like getting into it? Are the Welsh always like that, just like having a party in the stands?
Yeah, well, I'd say there's two things here really. Like the home fans always tends to be a bit harder to get the atmosphere going. I think traveling fans, they're always there for a party. You know, they're away from home. They're always having a good time. So as an away fan section, I'd say it's always more easy to get into that kind of thing. But then the other side of it is that the Kiwi fans are notoriously, I'm not sure what the word is, like studious, maybe. Like they're really observing the game. They're there to watch not necessarily to support as an overall thing. So that
Mm.
combination of perspectives would probably led you to where you were that day, I would imagine.
I guess maybe that comes from like another two factors, right? So like the Welsh, I mean, let's be honest, they didn't expect to win, so they're just there to have a good time. No offense, Wales, but or 2010 Wales. I don't know what if you're good now. But and from the Kiwi point of view, I mean, one reason I didn't ever really get into it as a fan, I mean, aside from it just being like crammed down my throat the whole time, I think was you just kind of expected to win all the time. I mean, from the mid 2000s until about now, like it's just been winning, hasn't it? And so from a fan's point of view, it's not like, are we going to win? It's like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Who's the competition is in between themselves. Like which left winger is doing well here. So maybe that the studiousness comes from that a bit, and that's why I never really watched it. I mean, I haven't watched a single minute of any of New Zealand's World Cup winning runs. Fuck.
Yeah, 3 of them. But I do
Is it that
understand
much?
that you
Okay.
watched this year's World Cup final. So tell me about that. Why did you watch this year's World Cup final?
So this year, I found out I was in Bulgaria, and I found out the Rugby World Cup was on. I think the first thing I saw was the opening game. France beat New Zealand. So I was like, okay, that's interesting. New Zealand's actually going to have to try. So I remember seeing some of the results pop up on my feed, and New Zealand made it to the final. So I went to a pub, and I got a few people together, and we watched the final. So
What did you make of
travesty.
it?
Okay, man. All right. So as far as I can remember, back in the day, you're supposed to be able to like hit people and tackle people, right? And I can't remember what his name was. It Sam something? I can't remember who got sent off.
Sam Kane.
All right, cool. Sam Kane. That looked like an awesome tackle. He just like smacked the guy, and I still don't know why that. First of all, wasn't like was penalized, and secondly, like penalized to the point where he'd get sent off for the rest of the game. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, the game's changed very recently, Luke, to be fair. It's the last 2 or 3 years they've really, really cracked down on any contact with the head whatsoever. So, yeah,
Okay.
having not watched much, if any, rugby, I would certainly not be surprised that you were shocked to see Sam Kane sent off like that. But let's go backwards a little bit, because you not only
Yeah.
went to a really strong historic rugby school, but then your university years were also in a rugby heartland. So tell me a little bit about that and what it was like being around sort of uni rugby.
I mean, once again, I wasn't involved in playing, or I didn't go to a single Otago game. But what's the is it Carisbrook?
Yep.
Oh man. Okay, awesome. Nailing the trivia. I think Carisbrook was outside, and rugby's played during the winter, and winter in Dunedin sucks. So yeah, if I wasn't going to go in Auckland, I definitely wasn't going in Dunedin. But I think they've built an indoor stadium, so one of the best in New Zealand now, right?
Correct.
So
Yeah.
you can go and actually be warm now, watch rugby. But no, but I did work in the Otago University Rugby Club pub for I think a year and a half. So I would see people coming in after the games that would have former All Blacks, current All Blacks, promising players. I didn't really know many of them, but yeah. So but I was just serving them all beer, just
Yeah.
come in and get sloshed after the games. Yeah.
But this is one of the things I get about New Zealand is that it's a very small country, and so the All Blacks is essentially a huge brand, but they're very much in and within the community. So tell me some of the stories about some of the All Blacks that you sort of met over the years from working behind the bar or anywhere else.
Definitely, if you would come through, and some of the older like legends would come in from time to time as well. And I think, I mean, there's one story I remember. I was working behind the bar. I think there'd been a game on. I think that's the only time I actually worked behind the bar, when there had been a game on. But a few came in, and I think there were about like 3 former All Blacks. I can't remember all their names. I think one of them was Josh Kronfeld. He was a forward, right?
Yep. You're doing so well. It's been so
well. Okay. All right. But no, everyone was like drinking, and we served quite away into the evening. And one point, my boss comes up to me, and he pointed at the 3 All Blacks, I think Josh included, and said, "Hey, they've had a bit to drink, and they need to get home." I was like, "All right, call them a taxi. That's problem solved, right?" He's like, "No. I'm gonna need you to take them home." I'm like, all right, okay. So I get them. They get in the car. They're wasted. They're just telling me where to go. Like, okay, go down here, go down there. Dunedin's pretty small, but they're a bit lost. So we drive into the middle of town, and eventually they're like, no, we're in the wrong place, mate. All right, we're gonna need you. Okay, go this way. Eventually there, I get them to, I think, one of their homes, or what they thought was one of their homes. They were completely trolleyed. And one of them just gave me like 50 or $100 or something, just cashing for a uni student. That was pretty awesome. So yeah, I'm an All Blacks fan now.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great example of just being in touch with the rugby community there, and good to see.
Yeah, I mean, they're very approachable. Like, I wouldn't say New Zealand has a big celebrity culture, and I mean, the All Blacks are they're probably the biggest celebrities you can possibly imagine in New Zealand, and they're just everyday people, or at least the ones I met definitely were.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we're talking about some of the elite players there, and in the intro I said, that in the UK we kind of have this opinion that all Kiwis are mad about rugby. We also have the opinion that all Kiwis that play rugby are brilliant at rugby. That's not true either. So tell me the story about your friend who got himself a rugby contract in Europe.
Oh, right. So I should start this by saying he didn't actually get this contract in the end. But okay, so back in just after university, this is probably like 2010. I think, yeah, probably about 2010. One friend of mine wanted to become a rugby agent. I think, like, getting people, like getting Kiwis contracts to play overseas. So I think the way it works, or at least the way it used to work, is that if you were hoping to become an All Black, or really hit the highest echelons of the game in New Zealand, you kind of had to stay in New Zealand. You weren't allowed to play for the All Blacks if you were playing club rugby overseas. Does that
Still
sound
correct.
right to you?
Yeah, still the same.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So, but players who were either winding down their careers or were never really good enough anyway, even to play professional rugby in New Zealand, could still try to make it overseas. So he wanted to become an agent for that. Another one of my friends, who was also our friend, while doing some research on that topic, found a website that, how do I put this? This website was trying to connect players to clubs overseas, and just for a laugh, he filled out this form on the site and put all of his credentials, like so what's your name, where are you from, New Zealand. I think the club stopped reading after that because I think they offered him to bring him over and play professional rugby, and I think it was in Spain. If they'd kept reading, they would have seen like, oh yeah, played like I think he talked it up a little bit, but like basically he played social rugby.
Right.
Played for non-competitive teams in New Zealand, and they were very interested in him. So just having the New Zealand tag got him in the door, so to speak. He didn't take it up. He didn't go over because I mean they would have had one practice with him and realized he was full of shit. But and I'm sure it's changed now. But like even back as recently as 2010, somehow just being from New Zealand meant that people thought you'd probably be a bit of a player.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the market has matured enough now, and people, enough players have come through that it's not a guaranteed hit for sure. But I think the supposition is still there to some degree for sure.
Right. Yeah.
Right then, next thing, Luke. I mean, you mentioned earlier about being having rugby, or it felt like rugby was being ran down your throat when you were in New Zealand. But I know you've been traveling for some time. So how do you feel about it now that you've been out of that kind of Kiwi bubble?
I think the main thing is that I just don't know. I know even less about the game now. I just I don't really watch it. I don't know about it. I missed all the games except for one. Like I've seen like one game in the last 13 years or something like that. So but it is the one consistent thing. Like people meet me and they ask you, where is your name? What's your name? Where is your name? What's your name? Luke. I am your father. Cool. Got that out of the way. Where are you from? New Zealand. Haka, or All Blacks, or Lord of the Rings. Now that the Lord of the Rings is kind of like 20 years in the past, the Haka is and the All Blacks is really coming back into the picture. It's like the one thing people know us for. And yeah, that's cool. It's not. It's it is really nice that New Zealand, this tiny country, punches so hard above its weight when it comes to a few sports. I mean, rugby being at the forefront of that. It is cool. Like I'm happy that New Zealand has like such an awesome team. Yeah.
Cool.
Even though I don't watch it.
Yeah, talking about an awesome team, we're going to move on to a bit of a quiz section now, Luke, about New Zealand rugby, New Zealand players. So are you ready for this?
Can I say no?
Yeah,
No, yeah.
Okay. First question.
Definitely not.
Current World Player of the Year is from New Zealand. What is his name?
That chap who got sent off in the World Cup final, Sam Cane. Let's go with that one.
It's not him. It is Ardie Savea.
What position does he play?
Plays number 8.
All right, cool. That is a forward. I know that.
World Player of the Year, correct. And whilst we're on the World Player of the Year theme, New Zealand has the players that have won it the most times. You've got 2 players who've been World Player of the Year 3 times each. Who are those 2 players?
I mean, I'd imagine Richie McCaw. Really?
That's one. Yep. Who's the other?
And okay, so any of his contemporaries would have been battling it out with him, so that would have made it harder for them.
In theory.
Dan Carter?
2 for 2, Luke.
Actually.
2 for 2. That's both of them, yeah. You know stuff
Sweet.
about rugby. Well done. Okay.
Well, I know that those 2 players were awesome.
Yeah. Okay. Can you name me any other of the current All Blacks team?
So I'm getting I'm hearing a Ben come through. Smith, Ben Smith.
Ben Smith is a former All Black. He's not currently in the squad.
Actually,
Yeah,
all right,
retired.
there you go.
Yeah.
Okay. I actually can't. No.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to list them all out for the purposes of this, but there's a few, obviously. Okay. Next question.
Who's your favorite? Who's your favorite current All Black?
My current favorite All Black is actually the World Player of the Year, Adi Salvea. But if it wasn't going to be him, it would be your superstar fly half, Richie Mo'unga, who is
Richie Mo'unga.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
What
okay.
does the
Next
fly half do? Is that the halfback, or is that the?
There technically is a halfback.
Is that the one? Is that the one who collects the ball, puts the ball into the scrum, and then collects it?
No.
Oh, shit.
That's a scrum
All
half. Now, you mentioned Super Rugby earlier. So New Zealand has got 5 Super Rugby franchises. Can you name them?
I reckon I can do this. So there's Otago, and can't remember the name of Otago.
I need the name.
Okay, so we'll go Auckland Blues.
Correct. 1.
Canterbury Crusaders.
2.
Are the Waikato Chiefs.
3.
Wellington Hurricanes.
4.
Otago, where I went to uni, where I worked in the rugby. Oh man, do I have a time limit? Can I put this one on pause and come back?
I'm gonna give you a clue. It begins with H.
Highlanders.
There we go. Good man.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
That's gonna bring. Oh no, actually, I've got one more question for you. If you ask rugby fans, which player changed the game? He was rugby's first global superstar. 99% of people would name the same player. He was a Kiwi. Who am I talking about?
It's got to be the Weet-Bix boy, John Olomu.
There we go. You do know some stuff about rugby.
All right. I have some questions for you.
Okay, go.
On the theme of John Olomu, it was the semi-final, right? 1995 against England.
Correct.
Which player famously wound John Olomu up so much before the match, telling him he didn't have pace, and then winked at him during the haka?
I'm not sure I know the answer to that. Could answer so many other questions about that semi-final, but I'm not sure about that one. Was it? I'm going to guess Jerry Guscott.
It was not. It was. Hold up. I have it written down. I came prepared. I didn't know this at all. It was Tony Underwood.
Was it? That was his opposite number. Wow.
Who during that the famous try, I think he scored 4 tries in that game, right? But the famous one, he tried to ankle tap him, and the ankle tap failed. But to redeem yourself, to get the point for that question, who was the poor chap that he completely trampled over?
I know this is so easy. Mike Catt was the last guy.
Yeah. There we go. All right, you are 1 for 1, or at least you get half a point. Let's move on to obscure rules. Can you tell I spent 5 minutes before this looking some things up? When are you not allowed to score a drop goal?
Directly from like a penalty or a free kick.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think the answer is when you have a penalty and you opt for a scrum, you're not allowed to score a drop goal directly from that scrum.
Okay. Yeah, that's slightly different to what I said, but I think I get it.
Got, I think, 2 more questions for you. So we've had 3. You are 1 for 3 at the moment. Come on,
struggling.
I thought you were the rugby man. Famously, people used to be allowed to score a try by putting the ball down against the padding of the post and onto the ground. It was considered as part of the goal line. When was the law changed to? What year was that law changed? It is law 8.2 brackets A. The law was changed. It now states that a try is scored when the attacking player is first to ground the ball in the opponent's end goal, so you can no longer press it against the padding.
Yes,
What year
this was
that
a little
changed?
loophole that people used to love doing, and it got changed because it kind of led to some dangerous scenarios. It's fairly recent. It's fairly recent. I'm going to say 2021.
Oh, you were so close. It's 2020, apparently. Okay, and the last question, which you really have to get. Let's see if ChatGPT has solved this one correctly. Who is the most capped by England rugby union player who was born in Cheltenham, which I believe is where you're from?
That is where I'm from. Oh my word, that could be. I'm not sure if I'm even going to be able to get a name for you. Maybe there was a player called Mike Burton who played for England in I think the 70s, and I'm pretty sure he was from Cheltenham. I don't know if he was born there. That's
All
my
right,
guess.
all right. The first name is right. This player played in the 2003. He was part of the winning squad for England, Johnny in the forwards, which I believe is the technical term for that squad.
So we got Mike, and he was born in Cheltenham, playing.
Yeah.
I don't think this is true.
Played for Bath and Mike Tyndall, apparently.
Yeah, he was not born in Cheltenham.
Played for. Oh, what? Oh, ChatGPT, you have. Okay. Well, all right. How many caps did Mike Tyndall have for England?
That's a good question. He was injured a bit, but he did play for a long period of time. I'm going to say somewhere in the low 60s, 62.
75.
Oh.
It is 75, according to ChatGPT. Like this has been known to give false information. Anyway, sorry, Mike Tyndall.
All good. He definitely lived in Cheltenham. I know that much. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sweet.
Yeah, he used to play for Gloucester. Okay, mate. We are going to bring this towards a close, and we got the stash section to finish off. So, what is your favorite bit of stash, favorite bit of kit that you've ever received? Now, obviously, not being a rugby fan, this may not be rugby kit, so feel free to do whatever you need to do.
So I was born very close to Highbury in Emirates. I'm an Arsenal fan. My parents were Tottenham fans. So I was actually born in London, but grew up in New Zealand. Definitely a Kiwi, but I moved over there when I was 4. But it's the only connection I still have to the UK really is supporting Arsenal. So I got given this white away kit with Thomas Rositzky's name on the back of it from I think the 2007-2008 season away kit. Pretty awesome.
Nice.
And I still have it. I still have it somewhere.
Yeah. Okay. What's your favorite kit of all time? So this can be any team from any era.
I mean, all the All Black ones just look the same, aren't they? But they're pretty slick. Those kits. Yeah, I mean, for rugby, it like the only one I really know is All Blacks. Although like the England kit also looks pretty slick, just the white and red, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or just mainly white, isn't it? Yeah. That looks cool. I think my favorite kit of all time has to be. I mean, I don't know which year, but probably the 1998 Brazil World Cup kit for football. I mean, it's just iconic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Okay, cool. What about any awful kit? Any kit that you would rather see burnt than wear?
Any Man United kit.
Man United, not Spurs, no.
I mean, yeah, but I mean, Spurs. Are they really a rival? I don't know. No, cool. Any Man United kit can go in the fire pretty quickly.
Okay, cool. As we bring this to an end, is there sort of anything else you'd like to say about being a rugby-hating Kiwi, or any other kind of closing thoughts whatsoever?
No, I can't think of anything. Roast me in the comments.
Okay, mate. Well, listen, it's amazing to get that perspective, because it's probably one that not many people have ever come across before. So just leaves me to say thanks very much for your time. It's really appreciated.
Sweet ass.
There you go. There he goes, Mr. Luke Hoben, the rugby-hating Kiwi. And yeah, I mean, just it's a very interesting perspective there. As somebody that grew up and spent, you know, all of his formative years in New Zealand, you know, a rugby heartland. And yeah, it was obviously, you know, a bit difficult, a bit slow at times there, but you know, we got through it and made good progress in the end. Yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, it's a bit tricky with bits and pieces going on there. And
What, mate?
yeah, that's going, bro. You good?
What are you talking about?
No, I was just telling the listeners how I really enjoyed our conversation.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. We'll go grab a beer in a bit.
All right, sweet
Yeah.
ass, bro.
Cheers, man. Alrighty. If you've enjoyed this podcast, then you can do all the social media stuff, YouTube, reviews, all that kind of jazz. But what I'd really like is if you mention it to someone in person the next time you're down your local rugby club. So until then, get out and play.